Hello, fellow students, and welcome to our final project, multimedia presentation for Communications 101 Spring 2020. Our group name is Nice Dynamite, and our four members are Richard, PJ, Dylan, and Elizabeth. We have been tasked to find a communication or miscommunication issue and present it in any manner we see fit. We chose a TED Talk style lesson in which we will each explain a couple of key features that make up our topic, which is perception. These sections will include a brief description of communication and what perception is, different aspects of perception, and the miscommunication that accompanies it. In a broader spectrum, perception begins all communication with others. Whether or not this initial reaction or impression is good or bad will dictate how the rest of the conversation and even relationship will go. Perception is not just how people view you with their eyes. It is a complicated pathway that travels through all your senses. It is an important step in the communication pathway, and through our discussion of this topic, we will show you that there is more than meets the eye with perception. Communication is described as the process of generating meaning by sending and receiving symbolic cues that are influenced by multiple contexts. In simpler terms, it's like being on a phone call. You are receiving information, translating and understanding it, then sending information back, and all that leads to you having a conversation. Perception is very similar to communication in the way it happens, but it is a part of communication, and a big one at that. The description of perception is the process of selecting, organizing, and interpreting information. You have chosen to present yourself in a certain way that is observed by others. So has everyone else. People will pick up on these decisions, assume something about them, and then decide how to act. This can happen interpersonally or intrapersonally, meaning it can happen between people, which is the most common, or it can happen inwardly. One of the easiest examples of this is the perceiving of one's self. Self-concept refers to how someone thinks of themselves. You look at yourself through multiple lenses and then perceive yourself in a certain way. You take the information you are given, what you think of yourself, what others have told you about yourself, the way you look, and you make a decision on who you think you are. All of that can be shifted by multiple things. Self-esteem is a big one. I said earlier that perception is a big part of communication, and here is why I think that is. When perception takes place in a new setting with new people, a very important process happens: first impressions. As most know, first impressions are what you think of a person upon meeting them for the first time. Based on how that impression goes, the rest of the interaction is almost guaranteed. You've probably heard the saying, "Don't judge a book by its cover," right? Well, it has been shown in multiple studies that the brain will make a pretty good judgment on a relationship from just the first meeting. Let's say you see a man at a bar. He's attractive, but he seems disheveled. He's stumbling and shouting at everyone. Your first impression of this person is that he's drunk. You could assume from that he is like that often, has low self-control, and shows his true colors to be aggressive. You probably wouldn't pursue a relationship with him afterwards. All that to say that your initial perception of someone will push the communication you have with them in the future in a certain direction. Whether that is how you want things to go is up to you.
What's up? I'm Richard Jones, and I got improving perception. Improving your perception on things is really good, especially if you don't know or have prior knowledge to, say, for an example, in basketball, if you're somebody who doesn't watch basketball and somebody's trying to talk to you about it, it's going to be kind of hard because you don't really know what they're really talking about. There are 3 ways to just improve your perception, manually by yourself, is have a positive attitude, somebody's trying to communicate with you, don't have an attitude, a negative attitude, because then that's just gonna give off that you don't really care and you really don't want to hear it. It's just like you're just being nice. Be open. Be open with others. Be open when you're communicating with other people. You never know what you might hear. You never know what you might need to hear. So, it's always good to be open with others. And just know yourself. When you're having a conversation with people, you got to know what you know and what you don't know, so that we're not sitting here giving out the wrong advice.
Hi, my name is Parker Talon, and I have the topic of perceiving others. Perceiving others is a concept that means one party forms a persona of another party without speaking to them. They form this persona based on appearance, facial expressions, and gestures. In a nutshell, perceiving others is a snap judgment of another person. According to the reading in 2.2 of the book, a person can size someone up in as little as 100 milliseconds. Of course, these size-ups can be entirely wrong, but surprisingly, they're right most of the time to some extent. 2.2 also cites a study about a person being able to guess who will win a certain political race based on the person running, their appearance, gestures, facial expressions. And a place I think that study ties into recent events is the 2016 presidential election. Everyone really thought Hillary Clinton was going to win, just based on her persona and based on Trump's persona. He's a funny-looking guy. He sounds funny. He's got goofy-looking facial expressions and hand gestures. That just shows where these snap judgments can be wrong, because Trump won. And another place I think that this perceiving others really ties into today's world is the divide between Democrats and Republican Americans. It seems to me that each side thinks the other is evil, like they're evil people, and that's just purely not true. And I think the whole thing is just one big miscommunication problem, and I honestly think it's driven by all media outlets. They just people usually only listen to media outlets that cater to their belief systems, and this works on both sides of the political spectrum. And the media outlets just want to win political races, so they try to make the other side look bad. And
hi, I'm Dylan Hickox. I'm speaking on miscommunication and perception. Miscommunication often stems from a misalignment of explicit and implicit meanings between the sender and the receiver. How you phrase things can lead to miscommunication. Some people are straightforward, and some people expect others to read between the lines, such as if you ask someone for their phone number, you might say, "May I please have your phone number?" versus "Give me your phone number." How you phrase things has an impact on perception. You have to just recognize who you are speaking to and how they might interpret what you are saying.
We hope you enjoyed our presentation. We have shown how perception molds even the smallest of interactions with those around you. No matter what, they will affect the relationship in some way. However, with the hope that we can become a little more open-minded and knowing what different choices mean, we can move towards a positive outcome.